guys, this thing sounds absolutely insane. Just listen to the car, don't listen to me. I'm just gonna be laughing. Here we go. Welcome to Drive Culture. I'm Jonathan Rivers, and today we have the 2006 Ferrari F430. And I'm going to tell you why this is one of the best V8 mid-engine supercars that Ferrari has ever made. So we'll go over the exterior, the interior, the powertrain, and of course, take it for a drive. So if this is content you're after or you're new to the channel, please be sure to click that bell to subscribe to come back for more. And with that, let's get after it. Now, this is it, guys. This is it, man. This is the first Ferrari we're bringing here to Drive Culture. And what a way to kick things off with this iconic Ferrari F430. I mean, I'm just going to jump in and give you my personal opinion. This is definitely one of my favorite designs and favorite Ferraris that they've ever made. So let me know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. Are you an F430 fan? Do you like one of its, predecessors? Like, let's talk about the history, right? Going back to the 355, then to the 360 Modena, which was the immediate predecessor to this F430. But when this F430 launched back in 2004, it really changed the game, right? It brought lots of new aerodynamic technology, powertrain technology, and really this new styling direction to this lineup of V8 mid-engine supercars by this brand. And, like I said, 2004 is when this launched. This particular car here is a 2006, so it's like halfway through that life cycle. And you can imagine, just like every Ferrari life cycle, they launched with the car, then they come out with the convertible version. Of course, this is the coupe. Then they come out with like the, high performance version, then the convertible high performance version, and then finally some kind of like limited edition thing before they cycle into the next variant here. But this particular car here, as you can see, has lots of modifications to it. So this actually isn't a stock F430, but it's still in really good condition, and there's these modifications that it's made are actually really tasteful and help the car perform better. So we're going to go into all those details. Now, I don't have the exact MSRP on this car. I'm gonna guess it's around $175,000 when it was new. So that was a long time ago, right? Almost 20 years ago. It was still at that price, if not higher. Again, these cars today can catch, similar MSRPs depending if they're well kept or low mileage. But this one here doesn't have a lot of mileage. I'm gonna say that for the drive review. But like I said, it's in very good condition. And of course, being a Ferrari, it's in that iconic Rosso Corsa, right? That Ferrari, racing red, right? This is really iconic. Now, it doesn't have a beige interior, which is kind of that classic Ferrari combo, but this exterior red, it just doesn't get better than that. So next, let's go ahead and do a full exterior walk around of this Ferrari F430. All right, guys, here we are with the exterior of this Ferrari F430. And like I said, I'm obviously excited, right? This is the first Ferrari I've had here on Drive Culture. And like I said, definitely one of my favorite Ferraris of all time. So what a way to bring this brand here to the channel. So let's talk about the styling, right? Like I said, the F430 launched after the 360 Modena back in 2004. And it really changed the game and the design language for Ferrari. So it was actually, of course, designed with Pininfarina, led by one of their lead stylists that really wanted to bring a bold and new look to their V8 mid-engine supercars. And so let's go ahead and, dive right in. Here you can see these, awesome headlights. That was a big departure from the 360 Modena. They had a much wider, kind of rounder headlight. The F430 brought in new lighting technology and a new shape, these kind of thinner headlights, which really make the vehicle look a little bit more aggressive, if you ask me. And so here we are at the hood, which is actually the front. We can pop that open later so you can check it out, but come on, doesn't get more iconic than that horse badge right there. So there you go, the official Ferrari badge. Super cool. So let's go ahead and take a look at the front fascia. Now, if you guys are actual Ferrari fans, you may go, wait a minute, something looks a little different. And you wouldn't be wrong because, like I said, this particular car here has several modifications, including to its design. So actually the front fascia, this lower clip, actually came from the F430 Scuderia. So the kind of, more performance oriented version that came out later. So the owner decided to put that front clip on this F430, which again, it looks OEM plus, which like I said, I've had that, kind of tuner car here on the channel with some other ones that, really tries to keep the original design, but, makes it their own by adding kind of unique parts that really blend into the original design. But it still has that gaping kind of shark nose intakes. That was one of the things that really derived from the F1 cars of the day that they tried to integrate into the design language for Ferrari. There's some awesome carbon fiber work down here in the intakes. And of course, you can see it's totally open, totally functional. You have this kind of little carbon fiber lip down here as well. But, again, for me, I think if you didn't know this car very well, you'd think, well, that's just how it comes. That's what it looks like, which I really appreciate. I think it just, helps to, like I said, maintain that kind of OEM plus look. So let's start making our way to the side, where all of a sudden you'll start to see there's obviously some other key modifications here to the car. So let's first and foremost talk about the suspension. So the car's lowered down. Again, unfortunately, I don't have all the specs on the modifications here, but you can see it's lowered down quite a bit, right? It sits right on top of the front and rear wheels. So got to be careful driving this thing up certain ramps, even driveways like that. You really got to go at an angle so you don't scrape the front lip or have the wheels scrub underneath. But let's go ahead and take a look here. Before we get to the wheels, again, look at this, the iconic, Ferrari badge, the Scuderia badge is so cool. It's really awesome how each of these are kind of like handmade and painted. Super, super cool. So let's go ahead and take a look. So these are some DPE wheels, man. They look really good, guys. And they're on a very aggressive Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tire. So you can see they kind of got like a nice little lip to them, a nice chrome lip. The wheels themselves are like this like dark gray, and you can see all the rivets around. Looks really, really good. The size of these tires up front, these are 245/30 ZR20s. Right, so you got some really big wheels up front, which is why you can easily see the brake package behind, which isn't a small brake package, right? You got the, Ferrari caliper there. You've got, drilled rotors, and those are good sized rotors, but these wheels are upsized and big, so they make them look a little bit smaller than they actually are. So like I said, we'll go ahead and look at some of the other details. There's that, Ferrari badge again, the little amber light here, and here you can see this is one of the more iconic things, was the fact that they actually stamped in the F430 into the side mirrors, both the driver and passenger. And that was like a throwback to the Testarossa, right? So, a lot of like unique elements that were brought into this design language for the F430. Here you can see it's got a very like kind of small door handle. There's the keyhole to get in. Intake to get you to the back of the engine, which we'll cover in a second. There's the gas cap. And then down below, again, of course, like I said, you can see the, design badge for Pininfarina. So really iconic, really cool. And again, you can see that functional duct down there as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at the wheel and tire package back here. So really, really big and aggressive wheel and tires here. So now you're actually working with, these are 325/25 ZR20. So a much wider tire in the rear, still 20-inch rims back here. That same DPE wheel really looks good with that chrome lip. But man, these are some wide tires in the back, and being rear wheel drive, right, you need that to put all that power down. So let's go ahead and continue our way to the rear of the vehicle, which I think is maybe my favorite view. I mean, this thing just looks menacing, right? It looks so good. Even in today's era, this car still looks modern. Like I would guess that most people can't tell that this isn't like the latest generation V8 supercar from Ferrari. So first and foremost, let's talk about this wing, right? Let's get this out of the way. Clearly the car didn't come with that. This is a custom carbon fiber wing. It's a really nice carbon fiber piece here, guys. And it goes, it's really mounted in the perfect spot. Like it fit right at the edge of, where you access the engine. So really well integrated there. And just the weave on this wing is perfect, man. It looks really good. And it's a really nice size. I like the fact that it like kind of goes almost edge to edge on the body. It looks really, really aggressive. Now, some of the other things that are kind of modified here on the rear is the fact that they blacked out the tail lights, right? They kind of, if you've ever heard of the brand Novatec before, they're a Ferrari aftermarket tuner. They're like, notorious for blacking out the tail lights. It's kind of an iconic look, especially with these four iconic tail light designs that kind of stuck out, really borrowed from the Enzo Ferrari of the day. You can also see the brake lamp here was darkened out, but man, you still got this iconic Ferrari emblem, and it just looks so good. It looks so good. We'll get to the engine in one sec, guys. Hold tight. But here, also in the back, this piece was really unique. This was an upgrade that later came out because this is all carbon fiber, right? You got the prancing horse there, and you got a lot of openings here with this mesh. So it's very functional, but looks really premium. So that's a really, really nice touch. Those markers are also blacked out. Of course, you got that fantastic quad exhaust, and we're going to talk about that real quick. So the exhaust and the headers on this car are also modified. They're not stock. They're not a part of the original engine, but man, they look really good and they sound really good. So I can't wait to turn this thing on and let you guys hear it for yourself. But man, the rear diffuser is just super aggressive, right? It's got huge ribs. If I get really close, you can see owner actually put these kind of like red accents on the ribs too, so that looks really good. But man, I mean, this thing pretty much screams like race car for the street. It doesn't get much better than that. So of course we'll get into the details of the powertrain here in a bit, but let me just peek back through, because there it is. It's just totally exposed. I love it. It looks so good even to this day. Those red intake plenums, it looks fantastic. So we'll go ahead and kind of peek back there and talk about the engine specs during the powertrain portion. But I think that's everything that we've covered on the exterior of this F430. So next, let's go ahead and hop inside to talk about the interior. All right, guys, here we are inside the Ferrari F430, and man, it still feels like a really special place to be. So a lot of premium touch points in this car, a very iconic design. Like I said, I definitely remember when this car came out, because it kind of changed the styling direction for Ferrari and brought in a lot of new features and technologies for the brand as well. Now, admittedly, here we are 20 years later. This particular car also has modifications to it, like an updated radio and things like that. I'll kind of point that stuff out. But holistically, when you first get in, it's just basically how the car came. So let's go ahead and just talk about the steering wheel here. So just really, really good shape and size. It's a very, very small diameter, has that iconic yellow prancing horse right here dead center. It has like a center stripe up here. This one is the black leather that originally came with the car, but I know certain customization programs would allow you to make this red or yellow or whatever color you want. But just a really good size. There's a very nice kind of aluminum texture here for the surface of the steering wheel. You also have the engine start button right here on the steering wheel, and you have the Manatito kind of drive mode switch. And this was the first car that Ferrari launched this technology. The 360 Modena didn't have it. And since then, every car has its own version of how this functions in the different race modes that you can basically change. It's really, really cool. So we'll kind of talk a little bit more about that during the drive. Behind the steering wheel, this one is not the manual. You would see that normally that gated shifter here. This has got the F1 transmission, right? This is sequential automatic shifter here. So you got two huge paddle shifters back here. One on the left says down, one on the right says up. Feels really good in your hand. Have a very nice, like, you can almost hear that kind of clicky sound on it. So a very satisfying click every time you shift gears. What's really sweet is, like, up here on top of the steering column is, it actually says Ferrari, and then this is where the VIN is, and it also notifies that there's an airbag here. So that's really cool that that's actually the position, and you can just kind of peek up and see that. So really, really nice. Right ahead, you got an awesome gauge cluster, man. It looks so good, even by modern day standards. Right there in the center is this huge tachometer, right? And this one, it's in red. So that was another nice thing with, of course, being a Ferrari, you can customize it however you like. But the fact that the exterior is red, The taco is red, all the contrast stitching inside is red. Is a really, really nice combination. You got this awesome 220-mile-an-hour speedo off to the right. You got your temp gauges and oil pressure and all that stuff off to the left. And even the little gauges down on the side that, give you all your warnings and things like that. So really, really awesome gauge cluster there. This particular car was optioned again with the contrast stitching and also the carbon fiber interior package. So this entire center area here was carbon fiber. Over on the vents, it was carbon fiber. And there's a lot of really cool badges on this car. So like here on the center, it actually says F430, and you can see it kind of riveted in to the dash, again, in that same carbon fiber material. Off to the side here, I mean, you can't beat this, right? It actually has a Ferrari badge. It shows the F1 car, and it says 28 Formula One world titles. Now, that's pretty cool that they were putting it in their street cars, right? Kind of bragging a little bit on how much success Ferrari has had both on the track and off the track. So really cool. Now you got this awesome dash design here. To be fair, some of the materials are kind of coming loose. That's kind of been, Ferrari's kind of known for that, is that, with it being hand built and being Italian made, right? It's, some of these parts over time do wear. So the wear and tear can be beaten up a little bit in these cars, but, the leather extends on the A-pillar, goes up above your head. I mean, even the visors, which are actually still in pretty nice shape and have a Alcantara surface here on the back, those look really good and premium. As you come down, like I said, the owner here modified it. So there's an Alpine aftermarket singled in back here. And actually, these are the switches here that help to lower the windows. So they're not on the doors, they're here in the center. You do have some climate control functions here. You even get a glove box that would open here. Down here, you got a large center tunnel, which again, this is where your transmission controls are. So we'll talk a little bit more about how the transmission works and how you start it up during the drive. But it's awesome. They got this aluminum plaque, says F1 on there. So again, just, really diving into that F1 heritage. You got your mirror controls down here, your hazards to accept and decline a phone call. I mean, again, if you got to do that, you have two buttons here, a little ashtray or kind of a coin tray here. You got a manual side brake on this one, even though it's the sequential gearbox. And then you got a couple little cubbies here to store your things. Now, one of the other things that the owner of this car did is they bumped up the audio system. So it's an infinity audio system. There's like these two huge like mid speakers back here. There's a subwoofer behind the driver's seat. So clearly they like their music and they wanted to bump it up inside of this car here. So it has a very powerful audio system. You still get that awesome leather and contrast stitching all on the doors, but there's really not much else on the doors, which is kind of a nice thing. Everything's very simple. And again, it's a hyper driver focused car. As we look at the seats are really, really nice. They're super bolstered. Now, again, the fact that this car is 20 years old and has been driven pretty good, there is a lot of wear and tear on the seats, but for the most part, the bolsters are still in really good shape. You get a little bit of cracking and tearing of the leather, but, wear and tear and the fact that this car has been driven pretty good, we'll definitely let that slide. But what's nice is on these headrests, you do get the prancing horse kind of, debossed in here, so that looks really, really nice. This nice material up ahead. I mean, really, this is just a really cool place to be, and nothing's better than to be able to look in the rear view mirror and see that engine right behind you. So you get to see it when you're sitting still, and obviously when you're driving, you get to see the engine literally like come alive and like start moving. So really, really cool experience there. So next, let's go ahead and pop out and check out the front and the engine bay. All right, next, let's go ahead and talk about the cargo space of the Ferrari F430. So, given the fact that it's a mid-engine layout, that means you got all the space up here, right? So this thing really does have a frunk, right? It has a ton of space up here. You could easily fit, a small suitcase, maybe even two if they're like kind of the soft kind, which would be great if you were to actually take this thing on like a weekend road trip. It's actually really, really nice. And in this space, there's actually 8.8 cubic feet of space. You wouldn't think it, but that's actually a really good amount of space up here up front. And you'll see it's got like a little kit in here and things like that. But I mean, you could easily remove that and give you a little bit more space still. So I think that's everything for the front. Next, let's go ahead and check out that awesome powertrain. All right, next, let's go ahead and talk about this amazing powertrain of the Ferrari F430. Now, I actually have it closed because it's kind of a windy day. I don't want this thing to come slamming down, but I'll definitely show you what the engine bay looks like here because it's literally a work of art, right? And it has so much history and importance behind it, right? Because this V8 engine was really the first one to break away from the Dino-derived engines of the past, right? This is really like a new engine concept for Ferrari, and it really raised the bar and changed the game. So let's talk about the stock configuration before we get into some of the modifications here. But this naturally aspirated V8 engine, this was a 4.3 liter, and in this configuration, it made 483 horsepower and 343 foot-pounds of torque. This was actually also the first car by Ferrari to integrate an electronic differential. They call it the E-diff, right, to give you better cornering and stability. And it was also available, you know, rear-wheel drive only, but with two different transmissions. Now, the famous one is the gated 6-speed manual transmission because this was actually the last one to offer it, right? Once they got to the next generation, the 458 Italia, that gated manual went away. But in this one here, it actually has the 6-speed F1 sequential automatic gearbox. So we'll try that out during the drive and let you know how it feels. Again, above and beyond this stock powertrain, this particular car here has aftermarket header system and an exhaust system. And I will show you here, I'll zoom in. This is actually an Innotech high performance exhaust system, and it sounds absolutely insane, guys. But there's no better way than to prove that out than to get behind the wheel. So next, let's go ahead and take this thing for a drive. All right, guys, here we are inside the Ferrari F430, and I'm gonna go ahead and take this thing for a drive. So clearly I'm excited. So go ahead and reach back, grab my seat belts, click that in. Now it's a hot day outside and the AC is not so great. So I'm actually gonna drive with the windows down on some parts of this drive. Mostly though, just so you guys can hear how amazing this car sounds, especially given that Innotech high performance exhaust system that's you know, connected here. So let's go ahead and put this red Ferrari key inside, give it a twist, put on the brake, and then you hit the engine start button. And that sounds really good. just at startup, it sounds really good. And as I peek into the rearview mirror, I see the engine kind of like vibrating, just ready to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and then get out onto the road and then start to give you my impressions. So side brake down, the car starts in neutral, right? Like there's really kind of like no like, you know, parking button. And so basically if you pull up, put you into first gear, it shows you the one there, and it actually says auto underneath. So there is a button here for auto, so that's what basically takes you out of, you know, manual and you know, kind of automated shifting patterns. So, you know, this car here, another thing to point out, has 47,433 miles as of filming right now. So again, really low mileage considering this car is almost 20 years old. But I'm gonna go ahead, roll down the windows. You got auto up and down, well, on the driver's side, so we'll get that down on the passenger side, and man, that feels good, and I'm sure it's gonna sound good. So I'm gonna hit the road and give you guys my full review. All right, guys, here we are. We're gonna go ahead and set off in this Ferrari F430, and one of the things I wanna talk about is just, obviously it's gonna be loud, obviously it's gonna be fast, but I wanna talk about what it's just like to like drive around town, try to keep it under the speed limit here. And also given the fact that this car is modified, right? Like I said, it's lowered down, it's got some really aggressive wheel and tires on it. So I just gotta be very careful as I go over some of these bumps and things like that, so. Here we go. Just let it go. Clearly it sounds good. Sounds really good, guys. Honestly, if you can't even hear me in this video, it doesn't matter. anything I say actually isn't going to matter. The only thing that's going to matter is how this car sounds. And obviously any Ferrari is going to sound good given, you know, their history, their performance. But when you throw on some headers and an exhaust, it just takes it to 11, an entirely different level of sound. I mean, this thing is so loud, but it still sounds really good, right? And one of the things that I noticed too is, you know, driving around in just the auto setting, it is a little clumsy. It's a little bit slow to shift. I mean, it's perfectly fine. And I'm given probably 20 years ago when this technology was introduced, it was probably more than sufficient and probably class leading. But here we are in the day and age when there's all kinds of, you know, dual clutch transmissions and things like that that are lightning fast. Compared to those, admittedly, this does, you know, feel and behave a little less precise. But all things considered, it's still really good. But for me, what I figured out is, hey, the easy way around it is to actually just turn off the auto shifting function, right? You give it a good little push of the auto button here, and that drops off from the gear selector in the tachometer. And once you do that, you know, you have complete manual shifting, and that makes a big difference. It actually really just opens this car up, and the fact that you have control and you're using the paddle shifters is more fun to drive anyway, but it also makes the vehicle just, the overall drive is a lot smoother because you're able to rev it out to how far you want to go. But here we go, listen to this thing. Okay, I'm not going to get into it, but that's only shifting to second gear, guys. I mean, the backfire and the shots that come off this thing is insane. It sounds so good. And again, as you guys have seen on Drive Culture, clearly, you know, I've been lucky enough to drive other supercars, other really high performance cars that have some really awesome exhaust systems too, but man, nothing sounds even close to this. And it's also just the volume, the pops and the crackle, but you're still getting that inherent V8 Ferrari growl underneath all that too. So it is just an awesome sound. And like I said, you don't need to listen to me, just listen to this sound. And I'm not even going that fast, but here we go. Oh man, that backfire sounds so good. Okay, here we go. Kind of turn in a little bit. Oh my God, guys, it sounds so good. It sounds so freaking good. It sounds insane, guys. It sounds so good, right? And the fact that it revs out, I mean, on the tachometer, it goes all the way to 10,000 RPM. The actual RPM kind of cutoff on the gauge is around 8,500 RPM. So I'm sure this thing actually does sing all the way up to that 8,500 RPM cutoff. So we're gonna go ahead, do a couple pulls, drive, so you guys can actually hear this thing sing. To go over some pretty aggressive speed bumps here. I always do this in the video, so let's see how the F430 handles it. I mean, actually that was pretty good. That one isn't as aggressive as the one I'm about to take, but given how low this car is and how wide these tires and this profile is, that was actually pretty good. So I'm gonna go, I'm in fourth gear, doing just under 40 miles an hour, and I'm gonna go over a pretty aggressive train track that I always go over here. This one's a little bad. Let's see how she does. I mean, guys, that was actually really good. I was kind of bracing myself, waiting for it to kind of really shake the cabin up, and it did really good. So enough of that. Let's see how this thing sounds, guys. Are you guys ready? Here we go. Let's give it a little bit of sound here. So from second gear. Guys, this thing sounds absolutely insane. Just listen to the car, don't listen to me. I'm just gonna be laughing. Here we go. lets loose. And when you shift gears, the kind of kick you get, not only in your seat, but from the whole engine, you just feel the whole car vibrate. It's absolutely crazy. Here we go. Ready, guys? First gear. Up to second. I can't say anything. There's nothing else to say about this car than it just sounds absolutely crazy. Alright guys, here we are, just kind of cruising around. I come back down to speed so you can actually hear me. I mean, this car is absolutely crazy. It sounds insane, like it really does. You know, you hear people say it sounds like a race car, they use that phrase, or sounds like an F1 car. I mean, this car actually sounds like an F1 car. It probably sounds better than the current modern F1 cars. It sounds absolutely bonkers. So I don't know if you probably heard me throughout all of this video. You probably just heard the car, which would be totally fine, but let me know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. What did you think of this car? What did you think of the sound? Like I said before, let me know if you want to see more Ferraris, more supercars here on Drive Culture. Happy to bring it to you. And with that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this drive review. All right, guys, that's a wrap. What did you think of the 2006 Ferrari F430? Is this the best V8 mid-engine supercar that Ferrari's ever made? Let me know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. Or are you going with one of the predecessors like the 355, the 360 Modena, or maybe one of the successors like the 458 Italia, the 488, or even the latest F8 Tributo, or something like the 296 GTB, which is a little bit different than this. But let me know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. And if you want to see other Ferraris here on Drive Culture, or other exotic cars like McLarens, Lamborghinis, of course we got a couple Porsches here on the channel, I'd be happy to bring any of those here and get you that content. So if you joined us before, thank you so much. But if you're new to the channel, please be sure to click that bell to subscribe to come back for more. Thanks, and we'll see you at the next episode.